Once they felt they had a good script, they gave it to Brando, who wanted to do the picture. He accepted it, and he worked with Peckinpah on the script. And they brought in Stanley Kubrick to direct. After pre-production, I think really close to the beginning of shooting, that's when Kubrick realized he wasn't going to stay on the picture, and he left. He went to England and never came back. At that point, you couldn't tell Brando anything, I would think. He's going to direct himself, and he really should. It's not, I should say simply, it's not a matter of shooting a one-act play, let's say, or even a three-act play in a small room. This is visually stunning, what he did. This is the only film directed by Marlon Brando. The world, the cineasts and the entire theater culture, cinema culture around the world, Hollywood, all waiting for Marlon Brando to direct a film. I remember even in Film Comment at one point, they suggested that Brando direct the Book of Job. But he did this, a Western, right? And the stories began. He waited hours and hours for, shockingly, I say that sarcastically, for the right waves to come in Monterey, so the horses would go by when they were on their horses. It'd be yes, that's what you do. You wait for the waves. You wait for, or if you don't want to wait, you get there at the time the waves are there and you're all ready to go. But that wasn't the way it was working. The equipment was enormous. It was kind of a cross between the old style of production and the new styles that were going to come in the 60s. And it also has a kind of, the essence of it is of the old Hollywood in a way. Charles Lang photographing, Hugo Friedhofer music. Even the images of Brando at the end waving goodbye on the horse. It has a mythology to it in a way that cries back very much to pretty much the end of the Westerns until Peckinpah really finished it off in the mid to late 60s. The romance of this is quite unique. There are shots in it that are extraordinary. When I was lucky enough to see it in VistaVision at the Capitol Theater, and I actually took a 35mm camera in and took some frames off the screen, which we try to use later to get the aspect ratio right. At that time, let alone waiting, the stories of waiting for the waves, people were talking about endless hours of shooting. And what's remarkable about this picture, it's unlike any other Western because of the intensity and the power of the actors, the way they're directed, or the way they're framed against the landscape and within these houses, these sets. But the intensity and the energy of the actors just burst out of the edges of the screen. I mean, they come out of Death of a Salesman and Streetcar Named Desire. It just slips out somehow, and they don't seem to be something that the camera could control. Carl Malden gives one of his greatest performances as Dad Longworth. And I got to know Marlon Brando a little bit over the years, and I said, Dad Longworth reminds me of Jerry Falwell in this picture. Brando, he never really felt that the film was successful. We told him we had loved it, and he's how it wasn't really. But I don't know whether that's just kind of humility about the picture, because when it did open, I believe it was not well received. It was not well received at all. Again, it has a throwback to the romance of the Western, yet there was a kind of different sort of energy about it, a brooding energy, which is beautiful. Also, and this is sad, we tried, but I don't think anyone could find it. And there were stories of the original cut being 5.5 hours. And I want to thank everybody involved with it. It's a very special film. Many of its scenes and lines of dialogue from Brando and Ben Johnson and Timothy Carey have been moments that even Steve and I were on the phone and were watching the beginning of the picture on an iPad because he was projecting it in a theater in LA, and we were talking about certain aspects of the grain and the color, and then he said, "Watch this, watch." I said, "Oh my God, that's that shot. Look, the door opens now. The Mexicans come in, and oh man." So we just started admiring the film. You remember the other shot? Oh, wow, how did he do this? Oh, one of the great opening shots too, the picture too, with the banana peel. Anyway.